Who is it?
My name is Gopi. I'm calling from the Human Rights Commission.
Gobby?
Gopi, G-O-P-I.
Oh, G-O-P-I. Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks. I'm just calling in relation to an email that we've received.
Yeah, I've got a very forgetful memory. Can you just remind me what it said?
Give me 1 second. I can read that to you.
Yeah, if you can just read it out to me, that'd be great. Did you get it, or do you want me to look it up?
Yep. I've got it here. In the Charter of Human Rights for People with Disability that was ratified in 2008, it states, I must have access to the law and legal help, freedom from discrimination, freedom from exploitation, freedom from persecution, not be deprived of my property, not be tortured, not be denied life. In my journey, all these things have happened, including at the AHRC, Liz Lindbergh, kicked over $1 million case.
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
It also states we must have reasonable accommodation, food and shelter, medicine and care, dignity, human value not withdrawn. I can state it says we must have equality before the law and we must have access to litigation. In my current situation, I've been robbed of millions in detriment. PSAs and MPs and other public officials bound to the Charter have broken the law. This rendered me a scapegoat without medical care. Access to litigation, I'm explored and discriminated against. I suffered a brain injury from a suicide deemed lethal and fatal, and was accidentally discovered with zero pulse and revived. I have no food, lovely and slander, destroyed my reputation. My business was ruined, no human value. As the AHRC, I'd like to seek your advice on my whistleblower website, www.killhim.info. To fail to immediately respond elongated my homelessness and vagrancy, causing detriment. Please call me tomorrow after 10 a.m. to discuss on your number. Kindly, Rich.
I'm very grateful for your call, and I think I succinctly put years of torment into an email pretty well. It has been a terrible journey, and there are contradictions by me ringing you. Have you witnessed the website killhim.info?
Unfortunately not.
Okay. Are you able to have a look, or do you need me to run through what's happening for me?
I can have a look for you 1 moment.
It's so much information there. You might take a while to go through it. Basically, I've since my brain, I was a registered allied health professional after a PhD, and I was framed. I didn't know this, and I was stressed from work because of sexual abuse stuff to do with me and my client, and I left. Now, I wish to say I cannot go to police, I cannot get a lawyer, and I cannot be a whistleblower. And today, after not paying rent for 3 or 4 months because I live in abject poverty, I've been evicted. Now, the Australian Human Rights Commission is obviously a place of government agency and public authority, and I think you would agree via your own statements you promote that I deserve intervention into my human rights issues. I need access to the law, and I needed it years ago.
Unfortunately, for our purposes, we can only look at human rights breaches by the Commonwealth Government of Australia. So if your concerns are in relation to private organisations or other individuals, or even state government organisations, unfortunately, that is outside the purview of this Commission's process, unfortunately.
Can I interject there?
Yep.
Just one of many examples. The Australian Human Rights Commission is a statutory agency that is of national significance, yes?
Yeah, I would say so.
So, in actual fact, if you did something that was against human rights or against the Charter, you would be complaining about that, wouldn't you?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure what charter you're referring to.
The Charter of Human Rights for people with a disability ratified by the government in 2008, which you advertise on your website. Therefore, I'm just trying to point out that I had a over $1.5 million case that rested with your institution, the Australian Human Rights Commission, and I was told innocuously on a phone that, first of all, a conciliation after many years was organised, and Liz Lindbergh, the person at the Australian Human Rights Commission, actually just rang her, and she told me on the phone, "Oh, they've just left, so that's it." And I had no litigation, and she free kicked $1.5 million to the other team.
Okay, well, if you have concerns about the way your matter was dealt with, then you're certainly free to, write to us with your concerns, and that will be referred through to, the higher officials within the organisation for their consideration.
Okay, well, that's just for an example, but another example is at the moment, my work cover case, which is a federal agency, Comcare, and it's now at the AAT because Comcare rejected it. Now the government has conspired to oppress and deny me justice. That's why I left work, and basically they're guilty of a conspiracy to murder, or only because I was found and revived is it manslaughter. Now they can't admit that because they just can't. They would prefer me die than admit that and protect all those people with power and privilege. So, the government having already murdered me, and then a whole year later, I've barely got healthcare. I haven't seen a neurologist or a psychologist. I've lived on first job seeker, which was an extraordinary way to punish me, and then I begged for the DSP, which was $700 a fortnight, and my rent is $750 a fortnight. Therefore, the whole world and all its agencies, in all the help I've tried to get, have utterly desecrated me, and they have attacked me via proxy in the hip pocket. Now now it's with the AAT at the moment, and they now have a 25-year experienced lawyer to go to the hearings and defend the government, who is also suing me against me, a mentally ill person who has a brain injury. That is inequitable, it's unfair, and it's against the Charter of Human Rights for people with a disability, in that we must have access to litigation. You provide that evidence on your website. How will you now intervene in this situation? Because I've already spoken to the Attorney General, Michaelia Cash, and with the AAT, with Comcare, with Australian AFCA, where I lost another $2 million, and other agencies that are all under her portfolio. She only identifies illness, not a sentient being with rights, and she sent me to the SANE helpline. Now, this is really ironic because my book was SANE's Book of the Year, so I know Jack Heath, and I've been a SANE speaker for 20 years. I know what I'm talking about. I don't need to be spoken down to. And Michaelia Cash is just another example of the high calibre of people who are conspiring to pervert the cause of justice via intentional omission. That is all I will need for my prosecution to prove it in the High Court.
Well, unfortunately, if that is what you're seeking, you need to put that in writing to the Commission, and it will be considered by the delegate of the Commission as to whether or not we can provide you with that.
Pardon me?
You'll need to put that in writing to the Commission, and the delegate of the Commission will have to make a consideration as to whether or not we'd be able to provide you with that assistance.
Why wouldn't you be able to provide with that assistance? Because I'm going to be buried at the at the AAT and lose a TPD of probably $2 million. And to be fair, I've already lost $1 million or $1.5 million from the Australian Human Rights Centre when I didn't have a lawyer and they free kicked it to the other team, and I lost another $1.5 million or something at AFCA. Now, all of these statutory agencies, including the Australian Human Rights Centre, which is the agency that protects human rights and advocates for the Charter of Human Rights for the Disability, for having equality before the law, are all under the Attorney General's portfolio. Now, I ask you the big elephant in the room. How is the Australian Human Rights Centre, if I put this in writing, going to acknowledge this problem when it's resting now with not only the Finance Minister and Michaelia Cash, who has already condoned it, and I have already pointed out the corruption in the systemic agencies, including you, under her, and I also have a new letter of atonement waiting at the Attorney General and one at the Prime Minister.
Again, I can't answer that question. You need to submit your concerns and then it'll be considered by the delegate. I'm not the delegate to be able to make...
What's the name of the delegate?
Delegate is a group of higher officials and not just one individual, so it depends on who the matter gets allocated to.
Okay, so can you give me a name, or do I get to know who they are?
You'll find out when they respond to your inquiry.
So how long will it take the delegates to respond to my inquiry if I put that all in writing?
Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline for you. I don't work with the delegates specifically.
Well, you must have a kind of a basic idea. Because in actual fact, you promote that I should have equality and equal before the law and access to litigation. But I'm systemically banned from the bar, and I cannot report to a police, and I cannot be a whistleblower.
Unfortunately, I don't have any timelines for you. You can put those submissions in and it'll be considered by the delegate. That's all I can advise you at this stage.
So if I go to the AAT, which are pushing ahead despite them already having killed me and now having a 25-year experienced Comcare lawyer specialised in the SRC Act to trick me into submission and delay, deny, defer my justice and my multi-million-dollar payout, and that's next week, and I need a lawyer. Are you telling me that you won't intervene, even though you're the Human Rights Centre and you advocate for this as my right?
I haven't said that. I said that you need to put it in writing and the delegate will consider your concerns. I haven't said anything as to what the decision is going to be, so that's not what I've said at all.
Will you be able to help by next week when my case gets destroyed at the AAT?
I don't make those decisions, so I can't answer that question for you. I'm not the delegate.
Can I just grab your name again? Sorry, I forgot.
My name is Gopi, G-O-P-I.
G-O-P-I, right. Is Liz Lindsberg still at the Australian Human Rights Commission?
I believe so.
Oh, right. Did you know I published a whistleblower statement on how she dumped me that day?
No, I don't know how you did that.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to send that to you too? It's golden.
That's what I mean.
Anyway, look, I have another issue. I am a failed whistleblower at the Commonwealth Ombudsman, at ASIC, at APRA, and IBAC. I know about rape, murder, tax fraud, and drug embezzlement, tax avoidance. I know I am the victim of a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, which I intend to prove in the High Court should no one intervene, such as the Australian Human Rights Centre. And I desperately need help because I've lived after my death a year ago, or what I called my death, because it was a fatal injury, they said, but I was revived. I now have a brain injury, and I have survived for a year in abject poverty. And now, because I haven't paid rent, I have now today been evicted from my home, and I have no money, no hope, no human value, no dignity, and absolutely no one to turn to. I'm hoping that you can intervene.
Again, you have to put that in writing and the Commission will consider your request.
You can't comment on that yourself. You are a representative of the Australian Human Rights Commission as a government official and a person who is obliged to act within the Charter of Human Rights for people with a disability. So you can't act outside it, and you aren't allowed to delay or intentionally omit, delay, defer, or deny an injustice, because that's conspiracy. Do you understand what I mean?
Unfortunately, I can't answer any of the questions that you've asked me so far.
Pardon me?
I don't have the authority to answer these questions. I can't make these determinations for you. So all I can say is you can put it in writing and it can be considered by the delegate of the Commission.
I appreciate that, but you must appreciate that I've got very tight timelines. I haven't got a cent, I haven't got food, I haven't got a doctor, and I haven't got medication. It's an absolute human tragedy, and the world is watching. The Australian Human Rights Commission is a part of it. You, as a PSA or a public authority that is paid by the government as a public official, are obligated to act within the Charter of Human Rights of people with a disability. Do you recognise that?
I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to hold people to account, because if you're in a position of privilege in the government and a charter has been ratified into legislation that is law, you must follow that law. And if you delay, deny, defer, and kick the can down the road, don't give me an outcome, can't help, oh, it's someone else, that's actually the same delay, deny, defer tactic that led me to kill myself over a year ago. And it's still going today. And even despite me just telling you I have no food, no medication, barely a doctor, I've been robbed of millions of dollars of detriment, and the Australian Human Rights Centre is one of those people, or those statutory organisations. You, as a public official paid by the government who has to follow the Charter, is delaying or deferring or getting around or omitting via conspiracy the answers to my questions. And it's urgent nature.
You can put it in writing and it'll be considered. I can't answer any more questions for you, sorry.
Well, I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know exactly what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing that the Australian Human Rights Commission has already acted illegally without me being represented to free kick $1.5 million to another team at a conciliation. And I'm also hearing that the Attorney General's already condoned me to lose at the AAT and AFCA, and I've been rejected from AFCA now, and also that the Australian Human Rights Commission is under her portfolio. So obviously the powers that be are conspiring to destroy me. And that's why the website's called killhim.info. I recommend you go and have a look at it, because if you don't help me in the next week before I don't have a home, I will be holding the Australian Human Rights Commission to account and civilly prosecute all its public officials and Liz Lindbergh and everyone else, because they actually haven't done their job. They're just pawns paid by the government to toe the party line to oppress and victimise me, Dr. Richard Mclean.
No problem, I appreciate your concerns.
Thanks a lot.